Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Finally getting a bit of a move here, finally getting into a spot that's getting a little more interesting for sure. So I'll go over what I personally believe is happening next for Tesla. So if you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts in the charts, etc. Well, again, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day as the market is open, as the market is trading. So definitely check that out. That link is of course down below in the description of the video, where again, I show my thoughts, post updates every single day as the market is trading, including this morning's update on Tesla's little bull flag that was kind of setting up as it was breaking out. And even before that, I think I mentioned here, I think it was this post right here. That's already after the health. I mentioned as Tesla was dropping in the morning, actually, I mentioned to members, here we go. Pretty much as the market opened, Tesla, again, in the ideal range, we turn into support in the 1 hour. And today, in general, moving forward, is a circled area with the risk of being a loss of about 345. This is the bull's chance to shine if they can come through, right? And that was a circled area that we obviously held pretty well. And here's the screenshot of us holding it right after pretty nicely. And then of course, well, I'm sure we all know what happened after that. So anyways, if you enjoy, again, have all these posts, thoughts, updates, etc. in my YouTube membership. We'd love to have you there. Just $3 a month. You get access to all these posts, all my Tesla updates and broader market updates as well. $5 a month adds NVDA to that as well, which so far has been going pretty well as well. Rejected exactly where I mentioned it would. $7 a month includes other stocks that I mentioned with members, right? Some obviously winners, some losers naturally. Like AMD admittedly was a bit of a loser here, but well, which one was it? I actually dropped it down because I'm done with this trade. Warner Bros. This is one I shared with my members. Now this was obviously an exception. This is a bit better than usual, but I shared them with members when it was at like 11, almost 12, high 11s. It's at 16. I mean, this one was obviously a bit of an outlier, but hey, pretty good. Same with UNH. I actually shared that with members as well. But anyway, Tesla. What's happening with Tesla, guys? Right? So the main thing we're looking at for Tesla stock is, of course, well, obviously a pretty nice move. We had this kind of bullish flag right here. We had a nice, beautiful bull flag, right? Setting up pretty tightly, right? We weren't losing the level down here, which was good. Like I said many times, 345, give or take, of course, is that level. Is that sort of, red flag, if you will, right? We obviously didn't lose it, so this obviously kept the potential bullish scenario in play. And today we're seeing the fruits of the labor, essentially, right? Where Tesla is getting a very nice move to the upside, very, very bullish move to the upside. And it came in right into my main, or first, I should say, level that I mentioned. Even yesterday, I mentioned my first level yesterday, about 365 to the high 360s. We're slightly above that. So let's see how tomorrow goes. Let's see if we can hang on to this. There's the chance that we do kind of gap down below and get maybe one small push back down to the mid 350s. That is still technically a possibility. I wouldn't hold my breath on it. I'll be honest. Sometimes, when Tesla gets going, it gets going. But it is in a state now where Tesla, theoretically is very, very bullish, right? It is extremely, extremely bullish. So I'll give you the several bullish scenarios, right? So the first bullish scenario, which is just straight up, it's just very bullish. We gap up, we pretty much hold. Any pullbacks are extremely minimal, potentially just only down to like 365, not really much more than that. And we take this area that was clearly a level of resistance, potentially with several candles, and then we essentially turn it into support and head higher. This is like the ultra bullish case, right? Where there's very minimal dips. It's pretty much going to be a gap and, well, it's not really a gap and go, I guess. We didn't really gap this, but it's essentially going to be an area where now people are going to be chasing. They have to, if you want in, you better start chasing kind of feeling, right? And Tesla's really good at doing that. That to me is like the ultra bullish case. Now, this is like, again, if things really start squeezing, which I give it like a 25% probability because, again, you have to remember Tesla was coiled up pretty substantially here. Once it gets going, it's going to get going, right? So this is going to be something to very much watch out for. But again, keep in mind, this is my like ultra bull case, like 25% chance. My 50% chance, and the one I think is a little bit more likely, or at least maybe not more likely, but healthier, I guess you can say, is we do get a little bit of a pullback, right? And the way I look at it now is any pullbacks on Tesla stock, I'm looking to add. I am obviously holding a position that I entered this morning right around here. Admittedly, I would like it to be bigger, right? It wasn't as big as I would like it to be. It's only about maybe half of my position. So I would absolutely look to add on any meaningful pullbacks. So if I see Tesla, if it does reject from here, if it does, make its way down and we get a move back down to about, again, 355-ish, give or take, of course, and essentially take that level that I've been mentioning for many, many weeks now. That was a resistance here, and, just the past week, really. And we pretty much turned it into supports. That to me is, that's just a bullish retrace. It's a bullish move, and it's going to be a bullish continuation higher into, well, continuing these higher highs, higher lows. Overall, the picture, like I said many times, it's bullish, right? It's just a matter of, do we get that small retrace first, or do we just blast off and continue going? Let's see. Again, this is one of those scenarios where it's going to be hard to for sure say because, again, Tesla was coiled up. Like, again, a healthy move would be something like this. Come back to the 9 EMA, come back to quickly retest this kind of zone, right? High 350s to mid 350s and then head higher. This is like the healthy version of it, if you will. But, when it comes to these kind of scenarios, when Tesla was coiled up for this long, sometimes when this stock gets going, I mean, we've seen Tesla before, right? When it gets going up or down, it can get going pretty quickly. So that's going to be the way I'll be looking at it, right? Either we get a nice retrace and I add, or whenever Tesla finally meets the 9 exponential moving average, I add. Whichever comes first, I will go ahead and add, but I do think this thing is going overall higher. So let's go to the weekly quickly. The weekly, because we hit my first target today at, again, the mid to high 360s, I do think the main target, my main base target, 380s. I really wouldn't be surprised if 380s gets hit, fill the potential fair value gap right around here. Massive area of resistance, support in the past, now most likely resistance, right? So that's gonna be my main target area, right? This kind of right around this sort of a zone right here, about 380s, give or take, of course, right? That is where I think Tesla is most likely on its way. Could be as early as tomorrow, right? Maybe we continue to squeeze. Again, I don't know the timing, but I'd be shocked if we don't see that. Now, if we break above this range and then visibly turn this into support, then we obviously go even higher. And at that point, I really wouldn't be surprised to see closer to this situation right here at 430, maybe even a closer retest to all-time highs. One step at a time, of course. But I don't know, some kid in the hallway just yelling at their top of their lungs. But, overall, the weekly chart, it's undeniably bullish. You can't look at this chart and not think it's bullish, right? You have to be, you'd have to have, you are probably down substantially on a short position on Tesla if you look at this chart and think it's bearish. It's a bullish chart. It is a bullish chart. We ended up so far, unless tomorrow is like a catastrophic day, we're going to be closing with a bullish weekly candle. Why? Because, well, you can see this whole region right here, right? This sort of, 350-ish region, very important. 350s. We kept turning it into a resistance. And now the weekly is finally, with the wick down here, like I mentioned, there was a possibility if we end strong for the week that we turn this into a support. So far, it looks like we're trying to do that. We just need a strong close to the week. And it seems like we're absolutely going to be getting that, unless, again, tomorrow is just a horrific, catastrophic black swan type event, which technically is a possibility. But obviously, you don't expect those kind of things to happen, right? You just kind of let these things sort of go by themselves. So yeah, let's continue watching, guys. Let's continue monitoring, but that's going to be the way I'll be looking at it. Now, obviously, the risk, I'll always look at, even despite these kind of moves, I'll always look at the risk. There's always a risk, right? Nothing is ever guaranteed. As good as this looks and as high as a probability as this is for bulls to continue higher, overall, it's never without risk. Even if it's a 1% chance, there's a 1% chance. And that 1% chance could be this time, right? So you never know. So it's always worth looking at the other side of the coin, which is, of course, well, let's say if Tesla go ahead and rejects here substantially, but more importantly, it loses. It comes back for any potential retest, but it loses this range and it turns it back into a resistance, and we essentially lose 350-ish, right? That's going to be a bit of a red flag. That's going to be a red flag. If we especially start losing and closing below this trend line, that's a red flag. So let's continue monitoring this, guys, one step at a time, but that's going to be the red flag. About the 350s, roughly, give or take, losing this kind of range and turning it back into a resistance would be very bearish, and we potentially start developing a bearish head and shoulders. Now, again, I obviously don't think this is going to happen. This would be pretty catastrophic if it were to happen, and this would be an absolutely phenomenal bull trap. I will admit that would be impressive. So I give this maybe like a 5, maybe 10 at most % chance. I do think the bulls are in a pretty powerful position to be in right now, right? This is a very potent position for bulls to be in, and it's hard for me not to look at this chart. As I said many times, it's bullish. Higher highs, higher lows, EMAs are bullish, MACD is bullish. We even got back to stochastic. Everything was bullish. Every momentum indicator I can say was bullish. Bring out the super trend. Everything was bullish. Pretty much every indicator I have for momentum said bullish. So let's continue monitoring this, guys. Let's continue monitoring this. Let's continue, watching to see what happens. But those are the main levels to watch for the short term. And in terms of the two bullish paths I see, again, a little retrace, not a little, but like, a fair retrace again, high 350s, maybe 360 retrace into continuation higher, or we get like a small retrace at most to 365, and then we continue higher. Those are my main two paths right now. Both of them lead to higher unless something catastrophic happens, which if it does, I'll of course bring it up. In terms of options flow, Tesla stock, let's take a look at Tesla stock options flow. Obviously pretty bullish throughout the entire day. Some bears coming in, trying to put a stop to this, trying to, buy some puts near resistance here, which, I can't fully blame them, honestly. But, let's see how it goes. The flow for the most of the day was absolutely and undeniably bullish, right? You can see over here, 61 million bullish flow, only 10 bearish flow. So the bulls are in full force. Buying calls for this week, tomorrow, next week as well. You can see the 19s over here as well. So yeah, the bulls are in control, and there's no denying that whatsoever. So let's continue monitoring that. Let's continue seeing how it goes. I haven't trimmed anything. I'm still holding my full position. In fact, I'm only looking to add for now because I do think this stock should go higher off of this kind of base. This is quite a base for Tesla stock, guys. You have to remember, this is a very, very large base for Tesla stock. Even the monthly looks explosive off of this move. Like, everything looks explosive. Obviously, there's always a chance things fall apart, of course, but it's again, the probability, in my opinion, absolutely favors the bulls. Options or broader market, very, very quick. Let's go over to the broader market on the daily. Like I mentioned before, Qs, they got back above 575. They're holding 575, and so far it's looking pretty good. We avoided having a potential bearish engulfing yesterday, which is also good news. And essentially, as long as 575 continues to hold on the Qs, I do lean bullish. But now that we made fresh all-time highs, you can even argue the fact that as long as fresh all-time highs holds about 580 to 582, also bullish, which is kind of what we retested today. So the market is undeniably bullish, guys. I'll be completely honest with you. It's hard to look at this market and not see some level of bullishness, to be completely honest with you. Now, obviously, the main risk is, of course, we still have the bearish divergences, right? Especially with Qs now getting a bit of a bearish divergence. The MACD is close to flipping bullish, but still divergences are still relatively there. We're still technically moving to the downside, if you will, right? If we're bringing out the RSI, still making its way to the downside overall. So the bearish divergences across the market are still here. Next week could be a pretty spicy week as well, because we have a potential rate cut decision. So could be a lot of uncertainty essentially heading into that. So again, let's take it one day at a time. But the market is still overall undeniably bullish with potential warning signs emerging. But again, until we start losing key levels, I don't think they really mean that much. And the key levels, like I said, is, for instance, losing all-time highs. And let's say we start closing below all-time highs, could be a bit of a concern. But especially below like 575 is where things get a bigger concern. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.